Hey everybody, you're listening to episode 231 of Tech Fetish. I am your host, Elena Yee, and here with me today are Justin Davis.
Hello.
Alex Roth.
Hi.
And Mark Ryan Slee.
How's it going? I'm turning to you guys and not the camera.
That's okay.
I don't know why. Just because I feel like I'm supposed to pretend it's not there.
Mark Ryan doesn't like to make love to the camera.
Well, I guess that's kind of a private thing for some people.
Yeah.
Is that a thing that people say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah?
They say that.
People make love to a camera?
Yeah.
It's like a old phrase that floats around sometimes, though.
Oh.
It's up there with "I'm ready for my close-up" and other such camera cliches.
Do you guys think you have a good side? Do you prefer to be filmed or photographed? From
Oh,
a
if
specific
I
side?
have a good side, I'm not aware of it.
Ditto.
I don't know which it is. No one's told me. I haven't put a mirror like this or anything.
Both my sides are pretty bad. One of my talents is that I am a remarkably. I don't think I'm like whatever. I'm like an average-looking dude, normal-looking dude. But then I'm looking normal, smiling, having a good time. Then a photo comes back of me, and I just look terrible. One of my eyes like droopy. I got some goofy look on my face. There's something terrible, weird going on with like my nose. I don't photograph well at all.
Bad nose day.
I'm nodding not because I agree with you about your opinion of yourself. It's
Sure.
just because I understand that pain.
Some people are just like that. I knew a guy that was a normal, handsome-looking guy, and then he would just look like a troll in every photo that was ever taken of him. I think some people like learn to like do things with their chin and stuff that like I never learned.
Meanwhile, you got a guy like Fran who is
Yeah.
terrible looking in person, but every picture he looks incredible.
Fran Mirabella photographs like a Greek. It's like he's chiseled out of marble.
Yeah. It's not fair.
Well, on that note, is that when you guys want to do the fresco, or should we wait
Oh,
and
sure, we can do that.
be enthusiastic about Fran's visage
yeah,
a bit more?
You got one too.
I know. I'm already drinking a Coke.
No,
Which is
you
not a
got to
Fresca.
do it because last week
She
I
drank
drank
your
your
Fresca.
fresca.
God. One for the team.
Are you bailing on us?
No, here we go.
Boom.
There you go.
You can just alternate sips.
Thank you.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Then people can guess, did he just take a sip of Coke or a sip of Fresca?
Keep up at home, guys.
Based on whether you said, that's delicious, after your sip, then people will know.
Delicious.
I don't know what to say because, as you guys know, I never partake of the. Well, not never, but I usually refrain from
Rarely.
partaking of the fresca.
But we learned you don't like to waste food. So if we just open one and put it in front of you every week,
No, because I haven't touched it then, so I could theoretically shop it around the office at that point and say that it's
give someone
open.
an open
Yeah.
soda.
Who wants to finish this open soda?
I actually had a similar thought. So, there's the little market down the street from us where a lot of people get lunch. They
Yeah.
have slices of cake that they'll sell. And very often there's just, they have the full cake in their cabinet.
Right.
And it's missing a couple of slices. And,
Right.
I had the thought that it would be weird. If I gave you one slice of cake, you'd be thankful.
Right.
Like, thank you for giving me this one slice of cake. If I gave you the entire cake missing like 3 or 4 pieces, be like, what is...
That's pretty weird.
Where'd those pieces go?
It's like kind of gross.
You can't sell. You
Even though
can't.
it's-
You can't sell like 95% of something.
Right.
You can sell 5% of something or
Yeah.
100% of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd
You
be-
guys are with me. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like showing up to a party with like half a 6-pack or something. It just doesn't look. It's like, did you drink 3 beers on the bus? Like, what's
That's
wrong?
when you have to actually break it out of like the pack and just like bring an assortment of things.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
You have to make them seem individual.
I
I would-
picked each by hand.
I would bring the 3
That's
packs.
so weird.
I mean,
We
it's better
humans
than
are
nothing,
weird.
but
What are they gonna do? Kick me out?
probably.
We are a very strange species in general.
We're taking a break from Star Wars today to talk about some tech.
Yeah.
I know. It's pretty impressive that we actually have so much going on this week in general. Just like everything's blowing up. Of course, everybody is asking on the Twitters and the Facebooks about the BB-8 or droid, but we will get to listener questions.
I thought you were
A
going to
little
talk
bit
about the cat head.
Oh, well, there's that too. That's not as tech related, although it does relate to the conversation we had last week, where apparently, according to some listeners, I'm on the wrong side. All I gotta say is that 2 spoons for hands, way more practical than a cat head. End of story.
Yeah, but it's not about being practical.
I'm about being practical.
Human beings are like irrational animals, and not everything's about practicality.
Sure.
We're driven by emotion, and we don't always make logical choices.
Sure, there's a reason why I hate the cat head, in addition to wanting the spoons.
What if you're allergic to cats and you have a cat's head?
No, but then no one's allergic to themselves.
I don't.
Are you sure?
I beg to differ.
Boy, that would
Yeah.
stink. That'd take
I
a
feel
lot
like
of
there's got to
Claritin.
be some random case out there where somebody has some kind of weird allergy.
Like, I'm allergic to blood,
To
my own blood.
To skin.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But news this week. So Apple finally announced their dates for Worldwide Developer Conference.
WWDC.
Yeah, so it's going to be the week before E3, which is June 8th through June 12th.
Boy, busy couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're
there.
going to be busy here in the
Better that
office.
it's
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say.
better than being the same week.
Oh, well,
which
God,
has
yeah.
happened in the past.
Which it has happened. I feel like they've done it intentionally in the past before.
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't
maybe.
know. That seems a little short-sighted, but
Their
fortunately, it's not that case.
So you said the first week of June or second week of June?
I believe that's the second full
Yeah.
week of June.
Okay.
teaser invite strongly hints at a new Apple TV,
Mm-hmm.
which lines up with the narrative. The rest of the narrative that we're hearing from people.
So the conference is a developers conference. It's like a week-long
Right.
thing that goes on. Primarily, this thing is developer-oriented, but at the
Right.
beginning of it, there's kind of like a
There's always a keynote, and
Yeah.
usually in those keynotes, you get news that will actually be of, some impact to just everyday consumers. Or
yeah. In past years, they've used it to like I think announce new MacBooks or like new versions of iOS. Not
Yes.
it's not coming out that time, but
no,
here's
but
a
it's like a
preview of
heads
it.
up,
Yeah.
and it's not just. And so one of the reasons I bring this up is not just because Apple announced their dates, but there's actually several developer conferences going on this spring. So we have Google I/O, which is at the end of May, which is before WWDC.
Input, output.
WWDC.
Yep. Very similar thing. It's a developer-focused thing that has a public-facing
Right.
keynote.
And even before that, stepping back even further, at the end of this month is Microsoft Build, which is where they're supposed to be talking more about Windows 10.
Minecraft.
We'll see if they do any gaming. They said
Yeah.
that they were going to talk more about Windows 10 and gaming back in January. But, I looked at their website, and they still don't even have a schedule up. And it's a week. It starts like in a week and a half.
Wow. Okay.
I think that's the one
So-
that intrigues me the most is Build, just because Microsoft has like the most to prove, the most to get done.
Yeah, it's probably going to have maybe the least predictable
Yeah.
results, if that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Like I can kind of guess what Apple's going to show.
Yeah.
Watch stuff, right?
No, it's all
A
about the
new
Apple
version
TV.
of iOS.
And the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean probably both, and probably devices communicating together and things like that.
Yeah.
So, well, for Apple, I think we're going to get something about the TV, maybe something about their music service.
Yeah.
Probably even more information on the watch, not necessarily hardware related, but any like upcoming apps or like things that are changing with the software that they're tweaking or refining. Maybe something about battery life, just because that's been a concern for some people.
Yeah, and just getting people to see the potential of what you could develop for this thing, because that's what made iOS so awesome is all the third-party support.
Yeah, I also forgot. Probably something about a new version of OS 10 as well. That's when they announced Yosemite last year.
Yep.
So it's pretty traditional that they talk about it
A,
during.
a new full OS version or
No.
incremental?
Well, it's always incremental changes
Of
at
course,
this point.
yeah.
I'm really hoping that I don't know if it's possible, but I really hope that this year they focus OS 10 updates just on fixing things.
What didn't you like about Yosemite?
People have a lot of problems. Like I got a brand new MacBook that I have to reset my Wi-Fi all the time at home.
They haven't fixed that? I thought they released a patch for that.
There was a patch for that, and I still have to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's obnoxious. My Wi-My internet just stops working,
Ugh.
and then I have to disconnect, reconnect.
The only thing worse than no internet is like sort of internet.
Intermittent internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
This-
like. Oh, sorry.
It's anecdotal, but my Apple devices, often like my laptops are fine. I have kind of intermittent internet in my house, and the computers deal with it just fine. But the iPad like freaks out, and whenever it loses its connection, it takes like up to 60 or 120 seconds to like reconnect. And I'm like, what is going on? And now the Apple TV seems to be that way a little bit too. Like Netflix will be working just fine on like the PS4, but on like Apple TV, like HBO Go is having all kinds of problems at my house.
Oh man.
Get it together, Apple.
Yeah.
So is Game of Thrones painful for you?
Well, for other reasons. Characters
Not for
getting-
tech reasons.
Characters getting thrown out the moon door. All kinds of stuff
Oh,
happening.
spoilers.
No spoilers.
That's
not
the
a
last
spoiler.
season's
Yeah.
spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, it's pretty much assumed. If you see a moon door, someone's gonna fly.
Yeah.
That's
Someone's
all there
going
is
through
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. So, so that's WWDC. For Google I/O, probably we're going to hear something about new Android OS update. So something maybe Android M this year.
What do you think the M will
What
stand for?
dessert starts with M?
I've seen
Meringue. Meringue
So
pie.
there's
Meringue.
meringue, and
That's
I've
not
seen milkshake. I said
milkshake.
mousse at one point.
Mousse?
Margarine.
Like,
Oh,
like
oh,
you know,
okay,
like
yeah.
chocolate mousse.
Yeah.
Not
I was like, that's a
not
weird
like-
dessert.
No, not like the animal.
Braised mousse.
M&M.
I'll go with another branded candy.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Oh, that's true. They just had Kit Kat. Jeez, what else starts with an M?
I feel like we've come up with more than I would have thought we could have.
What is it? Mascarpone or mascarpone or whatever that
I
stuff
don't even know what
is?
that is.
Mhm.
It's like a cake frosting or something.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know much about dessert, apparently.
I've heard that word before.
Yeah.
I would say meringue.
Think so?
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Okay.
Google meringue and Apple TV. That's my prediction for the two big conferences. Well, three.
Well, I think for Google, they're also probably going to do something with Android Wear. They kind of have to at this point, just
Mhm.
because they need to stay on top of the whole Apple Watch thing. They, like, Android Wear is already has a little less function, like feature-wise at least,
Mhm.
than the Apple Watch from everything that's out there so far. So I think they're going to have to do some kind of update to it.
I read an analyst report that they think Apple sold more Apple Watches in a year than Google sold Google Wear devices since they debuted in a year or in one day. Apple sold more Apple Watches in one day than Google Wear devices were sold in a year.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I believe that.
I feel like the whole segment is pretty soft at this point, and that the excitement around an Apple product is enough to.
Yeah. But it's
drown
like the
that.
thing is like Apple's big or Android's big thing is just pure volume. Like there's so many more Android devices activated every day and they have so much more market share that if they lose that watch market share, then it's like, well, then they don't really have any advantage in that particular subcategory.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the devices are still segmented by which handset you have, right? You can't get an Apple Watch and use it on your Android phone,
Right.
right? So
And vice versa.
right. So I guess what I'm getting at is that Google's not at the risk of losing their current Android users to Apple iWatch unless they turn into iPhone users.
Right. I would say just in general, like, I mean, the numbers are impressive, but I do think the fact that Google doesn't have like one dedicated hardware maker, the way that even like Pebble and then also Apple Watch have, also contributes to that. Whereas if you're like a Pebble fan or if you're an Apple fan, you're like, okay, this is the one device that I want to get. As opposed to then with Android Wear, you're like, oh, I could get the Moto 360, I could get the LG G Watch R, whatever they're calling it, for the next iteration. So I think having those choices makes it more difficult to buy in some ways. Like, isn't there that study that says that the more choices you get as a human being, the less likely you are to pick something?
Yeah, it makes it tougher. I mean, that's kind of it's a catch-22. It's like it's cool that there's so many different Android products and Android Wear products, but then it makes it tougher to pick the one, and then also like tougher for the developer to develop for all these different SKUs.
Yeah, but when something's a hit, people also like broaden their product line too, and that's how they expand it is by giving people more choice. There's like a million varieties of Oreo and Wheat Thins now on store shelves. I don't know that people are necessarily paralyzed by choice. There's a million different pasta sauces, and
Well, I
I
think
guess why am I thinking only about food?
Yeah.
Because
you
there are
had
a lot
lunch
of
yet?
choices.
Price difference between a box of Triscuits and a Moto watch, though.
Yeah, and I also I do think there's a little bit of difference in your analogy versus specifically the Android Wear watch. It's just that Oreo, you kind of know what you're getting. Like you're gonna get 2 cookies with a cream, and that cream's gonna have a different flavoring with those like variations. Whereas with an Android Wear watch, you're gonna have the same software, but like the form factor is different. Like the size of the band could be different. The materials
It's
are
gonna have a
different.
strap and a screen in between the strap. It's gonna tell you what time it is.
You could boil it down to that, but I do think there are some like other things to those watches
Sure.
that make it a little bit different than choosing, say, like what size and what band you want from an Apple Watch.
Sure. Take Sean Finnegan, for example, who's been telling me for about a year that he's interested in buying a camera, yet he can't make a decision about which camera he has, and now he still has no camera.
Well, Sean Finnegan's a big dumb idiot.
Hi,
I
Sean.
don't know if
Hey,
I agree
Sean.
with that.
Hey, Sean, what's up? Thanks for helping us with the podcast.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I just don't know. I don't know. Like we have more choice in all aspects of our lives than ever
Yeah.
before. So it's like they wouldn't do that if there wasn't something to that.
Sure. I guess I don't think the point is that choice is bad.
Stop
but,
saying choice is bad, Mark Ryan.
But I would definitely agree that choice can have that paralyzing effect.
Agreed. in terms of things that don't really have much choice yet, but hopefully we'll see more of at Google I/O is the Android Auto initiative they have. Maybe Project Ara, which is that modular cell
the
phone.
modular phone. That
Yeah, like
intrigues me so
they
much.
kind of announced it and then they just kind of like went dark on
Yeah.
it. So it would be really interesting to see if they do anything more with it, or if it's just one of those Google projects that go like out as a flare and then like quickly like dies out. You know?
Yeah.
Like Gmail.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
uses that?
No one uses that. It's not like I'm staring at the interface right now. And then also Android. I don't know, maybe something like an Android Home sort of thing. Just because Google owns Nest now, so maybe they're doing something maybe more with home automation stuff that we'll see.
And that's a place where they could actually get ahead of Apple.
Yeah, because Apple hasn't really entered that
No.
space yet. So, I don't know about you guys, but of the 3 different conferences, I feel like there's something in each that I'm personally excited for.
Yeah, Build hasn't happened before, has it? Is this
Build does happen regularly. It's just that it's never. Yeah, so that's
sorry,
the-
Microsoft.
Okay. Well, the thing is that with Build, I feel it's so developer focused. It's very like Windows focused. And
Yeah.
before, I don't feel like Microsoft has ever really done anything with Windows that was so different in their initiative
Yeah.
as they are right now with Windows 10.
Right.
Yeah. I
That-
mean, who knows if this whole Windows thing is going to even take off?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Windows as a concept or Windows 10.
Just Windows.
Yeah.
As an
I guess
operating.
I guess what I was going to
PC.
say is that Google I/O and WWDC have reliably had pretty exciting news come out of them. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for both. And
Yeah.
Windows 10 is interesting for sure.
What do you guys want out of Windows 10 if you're actually a Windows user? I know you're not, because you're like, nope. Do you use Windows at home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have Windows 7 on my desktop.
Me too.
I just would like the return of the start bar, and I would like to see Windows 8 sort of combined into Windows 7. Like in a lot of the concept stuff that we've seen, where the start bar kind of looks like the Metro interface and all that. And I want something that isn't going to slow down my machine. Because usually, like, I don't think I've ever upgraded Windows. I've only ever gotten new Windows when I bought a new machine. And that's mostly from the expense of the upgrade and the fact that usually you're going to lose a little bit of horsepower running this new OS.
I feel the same. I use Windows 7 on my MacBook Pro. That's what I boot into with Boot Camp. And I just want an OS that is really low profile. Like, I boot into it, and it's a utility that I use to get into, Steam or, Blizzard games or what have you. So I view Windows as a much more utility OS and not really like a lifestyle OS like I do iOS or OS X.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Like... I don't know. It's the difference between like a commuter car, like you might buy a beater car just to commute to and from work each day, and like the car that you actually like,
Sure.
care about and care how it feels and how it feels on the road. Like I think no one really thinks the Prius handles that great. It's accused of being like really floaty, and it's not like a car person's car,
Right.
But it's going to get you reliably where you want to go,
Mhm.
and I think that's all anybody really cares about with Windows.
Yeah.
So Windows is the Prius?
I guess I don't want to
He
project.
wants a Prius.
I don't want to project
Yeah.
onto other people. That's what
Sure.
That's all I care about Windows being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For me, I'm just hoping that Windows 10, even though it's not actually coming out as a full upgrade for something like Windows RT, I'm hoping some of those features actually make Windows RT usable.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel really bad for all the people who bought a Surface 2 right before
Yeah.
they were like, oh, just kidding, we're not going to support that anymore.
I can't imagine.
It's
them,
just,
yeah.
it's terrible. And just in general, I'm hoping for something that, as Alex was saying, combines some of the strengths of Windows 8 with, Windows 7. I use
Yeah.
both operating systems at home, so.
Yeah, I really liked the way Metro looked at first when I was reviewing a lot of Windows machines, and I just could never get it to customize looking, the way I wanted it, and I would look at other people's desktops, and I just never got it looking and feeling the way I wanted, and I would love to be able to get it there,
Yep. Well, we'll find out more about these conferences as they come up. First one, of course, is going to be Microsoft Build, so hopefully there's something interesting come out of that. But we'll be chatting about that more as the months roll onward to May and June. I know you have to get going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you want a break, or should
Yeah.
I just say
You
my
can just-
goodbyes?
You can just say your goodbyes.
Say
do you
your goodbyes.
Do you actually want to say any outro stuff like, "Hey, follow me here"?
No, it's
No?
fine.
You guys know where to find them.
Incredibly unprofessional, but I was only gonna be around for half this podcast because I have a thing I can't break. But I wanted to at least say hello to everybody. I know everyone really looks forward to hearing my voice
We
each
do.
week.
Yep.
It's not the same without you.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye, Justin.
Bye. And for the record, he's being unprofessional by being professional elsewhere.
Right.
It's not like it's a huge trade-off. Bye.
Now people that tune in to the video version of this podcast and only for the segments after he left are going to think that this table is very unbalanced.
Yeah, it's all right. And then, like, poor Alex. So speaking of, like, angles, like, they're just going to see, like, the side of your hair at this point.
It's all right. Maybe
all right.
this is my good side.
I think so.
We'll find out.
Let me see.
You guys can all chime in.
Yeah,
like,
that's
let
a
us
good one.
know.
Yeah,
Like,
they're both
what
pretty
is
good.
Alex's
Vote on my
best
good
side?
Which side
Yeah.
has more gray?
They're both
Yeah.
pretty good.
I'm going gray, guys.
Does the gray bother you?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's
It
just,
would bother
it's
me.
just
I
funny.
found one the other day. I was like, whoa, where'd you come from?
Yeah.
Maybe
I'm like,
I should
as
sleep
long
more.
as my hair stays, I don't care what color it is.
Mm.
It can go purple as long as it's still on my head.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
Like
that
Super
would be
Saiyan.
really cool.
Just
yeah.
like do it like a streak down the middle.
Yeah. No
I guess-
extra expense and maintenance, please.
Okay.
All right, moving on to the next topic of the week is,
Mhm.
so I saw this article that basically is about the fact that the U.S. government is getting involved in this whole debate about whether or not console, like jailbreaking /
Yeah.
modding, should be considered illegal. Because currently, I believe it is. But now you can
Yeah.
actually do that to your phone, and it's not considered illegal.
Yeah, and I would love to know illegal in what capacity? As in, like, can someone call the police and say, oh, he modded his Xbox, and the police come and arrest you? Or is it just like they no longer need to support your warranty? I mean, obviously they don't have to support your warranty if you've hacked this
Sure.
thing, but I really would love to know, like, man, I got 6 months for hacking my Xbox, you know? Like,
Can you imagine? Jail's already overcrowded.
It's just
like,
so
where
weird
would you
and
put
dumb.
people for that kind of stuff?
yeah.
It's probably more like a fine, that kind of thing.
A fine, or maybe just like new software won't work on your thing or something. But to make it illegal seems nuts.
So, I was reading this article, and, obviously there's two camps. There's the side of the consumer, which is, if I buy the hardware, why do I not actually legally own it and can do whatever I want with it?
Mhm.
And then there's, the side for, the Entertainment Software Association, of course, the Record Industry Association of America, and the Motion Picture Association of America. And as you can tell, guys, I'm really good with enunciating today.
MPAA?
Yep, our favorite peoples.
Yeah.
So they argue that, this leads to piracy, right? Because you jailbreak something and
Yeah.
then you can start running, pirated software on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's hard to disagree with.
It is, but at the same time, it's like a slippery slope argument, which you really can't base, like, in least, I mean, it's logically it's unsound, you know?
Sorry, in what regard? I guess I would say that clearly it makes sense that jailbreaking hardware, whether it's your iPhone or your console, is a tool toward piracy. I guess I wouldn't then also agree necessarily that means that it's bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, until the person is actually pirating,
Right.
you can't accuse them of pirating.
Sure.
Like,
Right.
and
Just because I own a gun doesn't mean I'm going to shoot somebody.
exactly, yeah.
Right.
And it annoys me so much, the idea that I buy hardware and I can't do whatever I want with it. I mean, I think it's completely within the rights of the company to then lock you out of future updates or maybe even make new games not work or something. But to tell you that you can't do something to hardware that you paid
Yeah.
for seems really not cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even in the case you gave where they could potentially lock you out of new games or prevent you from connecting to their network.
Yeah, I
agree
think
they
that's
should be
their
able
right.
to.
If you got to
Right.
play by their rules if you want to use that, but at the same time you own this, system,
Sure, and I can still see also being upset that that's happening. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because everyone I know who has had a modded Xbox uses it for pirating games.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know anyone who uses it for their media center or whatever, I
Right.
mean, that is totally possible, and there's probably people who want to do that, but I don't know anyone who's done that.
Yeah, but sometimes that can, I think, actually hurt the manufacturer. So let's take the PSP, a very heavily modded piece of hardware. I had one that I had modded, and I put like old PlayStation games I had on it.
Mm-hmm.
I would take my copies of the games, rip them, and then put them on the PSP, and I could play them. But then that prevented me from connecting to PlayStation Network, and so I never, or
You never
even
bought any
buying
more
new
games,
Like
yeah.
I couldn't buy. I had this piece of hardware that I basically had to make the decision to would I rather play this new game that I'm kind of interested in, or would I rather play this, backlog of games that I've put a lot of effort into trying to play.
So my question for you is, if they had made it an option to basically buy versions of all the old games you wanted to put on there, would you have gone the legal route?
Oh yeah, absolutely, because it's such a pain in the ass to do it the illegal way.
Yeah, that's how you beat piracy. Is you just offer an easier,
Yeah.
service than piracy.
So, I mean, that's kind of the question I was going to ask you guys in relation to this topic, and Mark Ryan, you already kind of touched on it, which was that you have gone the modded route. Like, I was wondering, Alex, if you had ever modded a console, or at least, like, jailbroken
I had a
it.
modded original Xbox. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What'd you use it for?
ripping games. I would.
You guys aren't helping with the other.
I mean, I don't know
arguments.
what the heck else you do with it. I mean, I would rent games from Blockbuster. I would put them on the hard drive, and then I would bring the game back to Blockbuster.
So here's what.
And eventually the disk drive broke, and then I could no longer play new games. I could only play what was actually on the drive. But I mean, hey, that's what I got,
Yeah, I mean, so like in the case with iPhone too, right? Jailbreaking's been around for a long time. That lets you do piracy, sure, but it also opens up a lot of things that
Yeah, like
you
tethering.
don't have access
Mhm.
to. Sure, tethering's one thing, or even just modifying your phone in ways that Apple doesn't let you.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely, and then also, with jailbroken. Jailbreaking, didn't that term originate with iPhone? Like,
It did.
Yeah.
what I don't. Is it just modding? I forget what word we used before.
Before we would just say mod, but
Mod,
like that
alright.
could refer to a whole like
Sure.
array of things,
Yeah.
right? So it could be a software modification, it could be actual like hardware. Like I remember, what was it, like the original PlayStation, where if you wanted to play games from other regions, you actually had to like solder on like a different chip to it.
Right. Right. So, like, I mean, in the past, modded consoles have enabled independent game development. Like, I actually played Cave Story on my PSP, which wasn't for sale on PSP. It wasn't for sale anywhere because the guy that made the game just put it out there for free. But, that's something that's enabled by modded hardware that's not illegal.
Yeah, I just think that's so much of buying hardware starts to feel like leasing hardware. Like when you buy a phone and you use it for 2 years, and then you sell it back to AT&T or whatever. It almost is like I never bought that thing. I bought a lease for 2 years, and like I really don't like that feeling, and that's why I would, that's why the jailbreaking thing seems like something that you just have to allow to happen, because the person bought that hardware, they bought those parts, that's what they're going to do with it, and you can do whatever you want to try and lock out piracy or to, make it unattractive to do. But I think it's just a bridge too far to completely like illegalize jailbreaking.
Yeah, it seems
It would be like if you bought a car and someone told you couldn't work on the engine or something,
right.
So according to what I was reading, that the U.S. Copyright Office basically came down on the side of consumers when this last came up as a topic
Yeah.
back, I think, in 2012. And it,
With regard to phones, or
with regard to just, I think, this particular issue
okay,
in general.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's going to be any different. And also, by the way, they are accepting written comments from like the general public. So if this is a topic that's near and dear to you, you can reach out to them until May 1st. So you have like a week and a half or so, maybe 2 weeks actually. And then they actually are going to have public hearings on these kind of exemptions in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles on May 19th through the 21st. So if this is something you feel really passionate about, definitely look into it, read up more on it, get involved if that's something you want to do. But just say, I was going to ask you guys, just say that for some reason they decide, okay, we're going to side with, these industry groups, and it's illegal. Would you care? Would you keep doing what you were going to do anyway? Because I would. 'Cause,
Yeah,
mean,
if I were
feel
going to
like-
do it, I don't think
Sure.
it would stop me.
Like, I'm willing to accept the consequences of, like, there was a time where you could actually, I think, modify your Wii to, like, do homebrew stuff, but then they released, like, an update that if you connected and downloaded it, it basically locked you out of that and overwrote the OS, so you couldn't do that anymore.
right.
I'm willing to trade off things like, okay, I no longer have internet access for this console. I no longer have access to these firmware updates if I really wanted to do what I wanted to do with it that badly.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the analogy you're using with the car is interesting in that I feel like this could really shape the way the laws actually get written, right? Is it, if this gets compared to physical things, which we have, pretty strong historical standards for what ownership means. If it gets applied more to software and copyright and trademark and stuff like that, that stuff is all very much in favor of the copyright holders, whereas physical goods tend to.
Yeah. And because a phone and a computer and all that isn't just physical. I mean, it's also service,
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a whole new category of its own. So it is tough to make a proper analogy towards,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does kind of speak to that whole thing, that's come up a lot. Just, Justin has made it pretty clear that he doesn't really like the idea of like digital games, right? Because you don't really truly own them. And so I feel like, I guess my question to you, Alex, since you brought up the whole analogy of leasing, if we ever got into this model where you really truly were only leasing a product, would you do it? Would you actually bother with having a cell phone anymore or any other kind of device?
I mean, definitely. I feel as though, I need to have one. I want to have one. I think if I had a choice between a lease and, outright ownership, I would definitely want to, add up, the costs and like figure out which is better. But I think I would be leaning towards owning it myself.
Mark Ryan?
I mean, I'd be open to leasing certain things.
Which kind of things?
A phone, I think that's fine. Obviously, like he's saying, the cost has to be worth it, right? At this point, the cost of owning a phone isn't exorbitant. It's not cheap, but it's not crazy, right? If we got to a point where technology got so expensive that it only made sense for me to pay $10 a month to lease a phone, I'd be open to that, I suppose. But you would kind of inherently be accepting a different level of ownership, right? If I lease a car from a dealership, I wouldn't expect to be able to take it down to a shop and put a supercharger on it.
No.
They'd be like,
Yeah.
no. You're borrowing that from us. Don't do that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if I could ever go the leasing route. Like, I just feel really uncomfortable with the idea. I don't really do anything super personal on my phone because I'm so afraid constantly that someone's just gonna like punch me in the face and steal it. That I don't really want to have to worry about like privacy stuff that
Sure.
results from it. But even with that, I think I'd feel really uncomfortable knowing that at any time or for whatever the contract said that this company could take this phone back and it's not really my hardware. Whereas if it's mine, I feel more comfortable taking personal photos, like text messaging people and that kind
Sure.
of stuff. So I think I would, even if if we ever got to a future where everything was leased and like owning it meant you had to pay some crazy sum, I think I would still pay the crazy sum just for peace of mind that like it's mine.
Wow, baller Elena.
Not baller, paranoid. The proper term for that is paranoid.
And it's also comes down to some of the reasons why, like, I wouldn't want to do some of those, like the early upgrade programs, that a lot of cell phone carriers offer, where it's like, it makes it easier to, afford initially, but really you'll end up doing better, especially with like an iPhone, if you buy the thing, and then resell it after 2 years. Because like, an iPhone holds its value pretty well. And with those early upgrade things, they get the phone back.
Right.
And then that's how they're, taking care of their costs so they can give you another phone, because they're just going to sell that phone to somebody else.
Yeah. I don't do those either.
Yeah.
I'm too cheap. So the things you need to know about me is that 1, I'm paranoid, and 2, I'm cheap.
Yeah.
All right. Gonna keep moving along for topics of the week. So there's been this, I would say, not a huge kerfuffle, but, just a little bit of noise about
I like
this
the word kerfuffle.
I know. It's fun to say.
I
I'm
don't
probably
think
even
I've
saying
ever
it
said
wrong.
it.
I think I'm saying it wrong, probably.
Why?
Kerfuffle.
I say everything wrong.
Kerfoufle? How else could you say it?
That was like weirdly wannabe French.
I can't think of any other way to say it.
So we'll just assume that for now I'm right,
Yep,
which would be a rarity.
Sounded perfect.
But there's a nonprofit group that's basically been making noise this week about the Xbox One's, energy consumption when it's in, essentially standby mode.
Which is off. The Xbox doesn't turn off. It just goes into
It
standby.
can.
If you unplug it.
You can. Like, I think if you put it into, what is it, like energy saving mode or power saving mode, it actually shuts it down enough that you actually do have, like, at least, like a 20 to 40 second time before it boots up again.
Mhm.
It's almost a cold
Gotcha.
boot.
Yeah, I haven't played with this at all.
Yeah, it's a pretty long boot when it's not coming like instant
Yeah,
on.
if you unplug your Xbox One and then plug it back in, you've got like a good minute and a half.
It's like
to-
I think I timed it last year for the Xbox One movie.
Yeah.
I think it was like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
It feels really long.
Yeah.
My only experience with Xbox One really is with our dev units that we use on the product side, and I think they just reboot from cold every time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen
Probably.
this in between state that you guys are talking about, which makes total sense because it takes forever to boot up.
If it was instant on mode, like you press the button and it should come up within about like 10 seconds.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, pretty quick.
I haven't
So you
seen
probably are set to like the energy saving mode
that.
then.
Okay.
Which is, I think maybe you're right, Alex, that it's still a little bit faster than a true cold boot. Like
Yeah.
if you had pulled the cord. But anyway, so the thing is that there's been this like noise about, oh, you're going to end up spending up to like $75 more in energy over the course of 5 years. This is not acceptable because if you multiply that out by the hundreds and, of what, not even, I wouldn't say 100 million people, but like quite a few, like millions of people doing this, that's a lot of energy that's getting wasted.
Right. I would say it's reasonable to expect Xbox One to sell anywhere between 50 to 100 million units.
Yeah, I just
over
don't know
its
what their
lifetime.
current figures are, so
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure exactly what number to quote at the moment. But
Let's say 10ish.
In the millions.
yeah. So my question for you guys is more general. Like, do you even care about your energy costs when it comes to like basically like vampire draw? When like
things are
something's
just plugged in.
and they're still
Yeah,
taking up a little
that
bit
bugs
of energy.
me.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, well, because I'm like, what a waste, like waste of money, waste of resources. Like I don't really care so much how much it burns when I'm using it because I'm getting something out of it. But when it's just sitting there, plugged in, yeah.
So are you the kind of person that does the whole thing where like you plug in all the stuff that could take in like extra energy without like really needing it, and then you put on a power strip and turn off the power strip when you're done?
No, but I try not to, have just a zillion things plugged in that I never use. Like I don't just have a bunch of, plugs in the wall for my chargers in case I need to charge. Like I generally, I don't plug in the 3DS charger until I actually have to use it usually. And that's something I don't use a lot.
So what do you leave plugged in then?
Just basically my computer, my Xbox and my PS4, and my computer and my iPhone charger.
And your TV, I assume.
Yeah, all that stuff, yeah.
Do you have like a Blu-ray player or anything else, or do you actually just use your
Microwave.
consoles?
Just the
Your
consoles.
Your microwave. Your refrigerator. Although-
Unplug it when I leave.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark Ryan?
I don't think we do a very good job of. I don't think like my power use is accountable to the device level, right? Like I don't know how much power any one of my devices uses in a given month, and so for me, like I just see my power bill at the end of each month, and if that changed by $2 or $3, like it would be insignificant to me.
You wouldn't
And
notice
I
it.
wouldn't know what it came from, right? There's no way for me to say
Interesting.
like, oh, my power bill is $5 more this month than it was last year. What did it come from? I have no way of telling. We don't like monitor power at that level, right? Maybe if
Most
we
people
did.
don't, but you can buy things like a kilowatt or like basically devices that you plug into the wall and then you plug your device into that, and then it basically measures the power draw.
Oh, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, it's like I have one, and I haven't started using it yet, mostly because I'm afraid that once I do, I'm gonna get obsessive about it.
That sounds like painful knowledge.
It's kind of
Like-
like when you get a Prius and it tells you what your gas mileage is all the time.
Really?
Oh,
Like, Does
yeah.
that happen?
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't. I
and
mean, I don't own one, so.
I'm not sure. Various eco cars will like have some sort of indicator that's blue when you're or blue or green, whatever, to show you that you're driving well. And then if you
Oh.
dip into the throttle too much, it changes to red, and it's just
So is that the reason why people hang out in the fast lane and are like, "Oh, I better start slowing down to 60"?
maybe.
I'm
It's also because they're jerks.
Well, seriously, right? I met a random person through an acquaintance, and they're like, "I own a Prius," and I was like, "Oh." And they're like, "What was that face?" I was like, "Well, you're not from California, but out here, a lot of Prius drivers don't really actually follow the rule of thumb that says you shouldn't be doing 60 in like the fast lane or even the second to fast lane."
Yeah.
So you
For the record, I have nothing against Prius drivers.
It's okay. I'm willing to just own the fact that this is just me and my own personal pet peeve.
I do have a thing against people that drive under the speed limit in the passing lanes.
Even going at the speed limit in the passing lanes, though, can be frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's important that we refer to them as passing lanes. Because if you're not passing someone, don't be in that lane. That's my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just did the drive from Los Angeles to San Francisco in the last week, so yeah, I
I-5?
agree with you. Yeah.
Oof. It's not fun.
It was all right, but yeah, stand to get a few people out of that passing lane.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess I wasn't familiar with these kilowatt measure things that you can put on power outlets. It seems like that would be a cool thing to just kind of have baked into every power outlet in your house, and then maybe have like some sort of Wi-Fi, like an app that you can see, like the things that were connected in my living room use this much power. And so at that point, I might start getting, interested in the efficiency of it.
I feel like that is one of the benefits to the kind of smart home technology that everyone's talking about. Because in theory, if we get to the point where like Google comes out with, Android Home and like it has this whole ecosystem where you can track stuff like that, I do think that's super helpful. Also creates another thing for my OCD to
Sure.
latch on to where I'm at work and I'm like, oh crap, like this is on, I gotta go home and turn it off. But
Well, you'll be able to do that from your app.
it's true, hopefully. Unless I have like legacy, like old
That's true.
products in there
That's
that
true.
won't respond to something remotely.
Your 8-track player.
Yeah. VHS.
I left the record player plugged in.
Well, at this point, most record players, I think you're having to buy like new ones that are like basically able to play vinyl. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to find actual like old record players.
You
I'm
definitely
sure you-
have to hunt for one in good
I
condition.
bet you can get one at the Alamani flea market.
Oh, yeah?
Probably be
Heard
covered
that.
in dust and crap, but they'll have it.
Yeah. Just have to restore it.
Sure.
Cool. So, final verdict. You care, Alex.
I
I'm
care.
pointing so
Alex
you can't
cares.
see. But Mark Ryan
I
doesn't.
don't have enough information to care.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So what if I gifted you a kilowatt?
I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Neither would I.
He's like, okay, keeping my peace of mind. End of story.
Can I
Done.
invest it?
Invest
Can I
it?
use it to buy a Bitcoin?
I
know
don't
if-
think it has enough
I don't know if
power
Bitcoin counts
or
as investment.
computing power for that. All right, moving on. Again, we're actually going to do some listener questions this week.
Cool.
Nice.
I know, it's been a while. First and foremost, and this is touching on the whole Star Wars stuff that I'll drop this morning.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Seriously, I put out a call on Facebook and Twitter and Google Plus, and I asked everybody. I said, "What are some burning tech questions that you have?" And I got a lot of answers. Like first answers were, "How does BB-8 work?"
Gyroscopes and magnets.
So yeah, I mean that seems like the simple answer for now. But I mean it's pretty cool if you didn't see it. Like they have a working version of that droid that rolled out on stage, and you have a round object spinning underneath a round head that actually still moves around on that like rounded body.
Mm-hmm.
So very interesting
It's
stuff
super
to look
cute.
at, and it's kind of adorable. I don't
Probably
know.
Segway technology.
Yeah. Gyroscopes.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we'll be able to dig into this more and get some real answers. But in the meantime, I think we're just going to have to go with speculation. And just, that sometimes, this sounds really weird coming from me, who's like the tech editor, right? But there are some times where I just like to look at things and just enjoy how they work.
Oh yeah.
It's just
You're
that's
okay
pretty
not
cool.
knowing. You just want to pretend it's magic.
No, not necessarily that. It's more like I'll get to that later. I'll
Okay.
take it apart in my head and figure out schematics or whatever later. But for the moment, I just want to look at that thing and go, that is cool. I really appreciate the work that went into that. It's not often that happens for me. A lot of times I look at things and I wonder immediately why it's not working.
That's kind of how I look at food most of the time. As someone who doesn't cook very much. I'm like, wow, that looks really good. I don't need to know how to do that.
I'm just going to eat it.
Yep. It's my opinion.
All right. Second question. I thought this was interesting because there's been so much buzz around the office about the Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the listeners wanted to know, and we'll just go down the row, I guess, what would be a feature that would turn the Apple Watch from to must-have for you?
I mean, that's kind of the thing is that I don't think anybody knows at
Yeah.
this point.
That's the great thing about, these products that really take off is they show you something that you didn't know you wanted. And I don't know what I want from this thing. I need something to sort of, cast a spell on me.
But do you think that Apple is actually going to be able to do that this time with this
I don't know.
piece of hardware? Because I just don't feel that sense of like, oh, like, yeah, this actually could start a sea change.
Yeah, I mean, so there is one area that I would love to see personal computing devices solve, and maybe this is the future of wearables, is health monitoring systems, right? The iWatch can monitor your heart rate, which is interesting. But what I really want is a wearable that can tell me, dude, you're about to get sick. Take some more vitamin C or whatever it is. Like, I want something.
Oh, they can actually like measure like the changes in your body temperature and like maybe like moisture.
Sure. Like it seems totally reasonable to me that you could have a device that could learn your body well, like as well as, a doctor might with the sort of measurements or the sort of monitoring that you don't have time for. I'm not in a doctor's office all the time. In fact, I go to a doctor once every 3 years.
Really?
Yeah, about.
Oh, I guess it's different being a woman. Like you're supposed to kind of go in every
Sure.
year to get certain parts checked out. So.
Yeah, when I get old, I'll be at the doctor all the time.
Yeah, I hear after the age of 40 for men, the exams get a little less comfortable.
Probably. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That's also not a laugh at people's pain. It's just
Sure.
That's just
No. But I mean, like that kind of stuff, I feel like can happen with some device that's monitoring your health, right? You could theoretically, I can imagine. I mean, I'm saying theoretically based on absolutely no knowledge of what it takes to do this, but like it would be great to have some sort of wearable device, whether it's on your wrist or implanted in your skin, that tells you, you're developing cancer or
Jeez.
just something.
That's stark.
But sure,
Is there a
that's
device capable of that yet?
I bet there is. I mean, dogs can smell cancer, which is weird, but
Just get a dog.
Yeah.
but like if that's the kind of stuff that like if you catch that before it becomes a problem, and I feel like computers can do that for us, that'll be huge. It's going to revolutionize healthcare.
Yeah.
And I feel like, Apple Watch is not there now. It's
Oh,
not anywhere close
no,
to
not
that.
for the health stuff that you're talking about.
But I feel like something like that can be served or can serve that purpose.
Honestly, though, for what you're proposing, I feel like that's actually less of a wearable thing and more of something like some kind of implant. Like just kind of related to a lot of the nanotechnology stuff that I've heard like that's been happening in the medical field, where they're using like nanorobots and stuff like that to try to like navigate the body.
Yep.
Because I feel like I mean, I don't want to rule anything out, obviously, because in 20 years, who knows? Like maybe we do have tech that can basically just measure stuff from your skin.
Sure.
But right now, the technology is really unreliable. Like when I wear this Moto 360, it can't even read my heartbeat at all. Like not even accurately.
It's supposed to.
It's supposed to.
Yeah.
But I think my wrist is just too small for it. So it doesn't work.
Right.
Right? So like I feel like if anything's going to actually read actual internal body temperature changes or like I don't know, rise in like white cell count or something like that,
Right.
you would need some kind of implant to actually measure that kind of stuff.
Right, and I wonder if the sensors that they're starting to bake in these watches will be sort of a gateway to that, right? People will get used to seeing the health data about themselves. They're going to recognize that it's surface level. It's only going to measure my heart rate or maybe the temperature of my skin or maybe even like measure your sweat or something like that. That seems pretty feasible. And so people might get used to that, what that data enables them to do with their own health. It might be then making them more open to an implant. Because right now, an implant, that's a pretty invasive procedure. That sounds pretty scary. If I don't immediately know the benefits of an implant, I might just say, no thanks.
It's like getting microchipped.
In case I get lost.
Yeah. That'll be a side benefit, right? When I'm 80 and I potentially have dementia and I don't know where my house is, my kid or my caregiver can be like, "Oh, there she is."
Yep. Or you're just getting your self-driving car and it'll be like, or someone else's self-driving car and be like, no, go over here.
Oh man, it's gonna be weird to see what the world's like when I'm 80.
Yeah.
I don't know. How about you, Alex? Like, what do you think about? Is there anything in particular that would make you want to buy an Apple
Flappy
Watch?
Bird.
Flappy Bird. I mean, yeah, short of like science magic. Like, there's nothing I can really think of. I mean, that's for, the app developers to come up with,
Yeah.
like when I first saw the iPhone, I didn't know that I'd be able to pay my friends for dinner, through that or whatever. And then when that came along, that was just like, wow, here's another thing I, can't live without with this phone,
Do you use that often?
Yeah. Oh, the Square Cash and all that,
Are you,
definitely.
are you a Square Cash guy?
Square Cash, I ditched Venmo, yeah.
You ditched Venmo.
I ditched Venmo.
Whoa.
Wow.
I haven't even downloaded Venmo yet, and it's already out of style.
Psh, it's so passé. I don't know why it has these dumb social aspects where it shows so and so paid you $20 for eggs, and then somebody can like that, I mean,
That is weird.
I disabled all that, but I'm like, why is this here to begin with? Square Cash is so lightweight. I like it a lot.
I like it. Where it's like, oh, someone actually paid you back for something. Like,
Yeah.
someone so-and-so is not a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, that's so weird. That's the thing. Like, I just don't understand why everyone believes that everything has to have a social aspect to it.
And it's not like you can post to Facebook or something, in which case I understand why they would want to do it, because they would want people to see, oh, what's Venmo, and then click on it. But if it's only being seen by other Venmo people, it's like you're just preaching to the choir. Like, why do we need to like this,
I don't know. I think if it went on Facebook.
Oh, that would be even worse. I mean, that's something that only the marketing people for this app would want.
It's like when Spotify first came out, and my Facebook feed was just flooded with so-and-so
Oh,
listening
yeah.
to this song.
Oh,
on
the worst was,
Spotify.
remember when Netflix first put out its Facebook extension, and it would be like, so-and-so added Top Gun to his queue. And I was like, holy shit, oh, I'm deleting this immediately. Yeah.
So you're not pre-ordering an Apple Watch?
No.
Well,
I like that you lean forward. You're like, no.
Well, we had to ask him, right? Because we talked about this last week, just
Yeah.
a little bit. So Alex wasn't
I'm pretty
here.
excited to play with one. Like, I hope
Yeah.
that I get to fool
Did you
around
go to the
with.
store?
No, I haven't touched one yet.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't gotten around to it. I've been out of town, and yeah, I definitely want to play with one, and I'm waiting to be sold. But at this point, no, I'm not getting one of those.
I was in an Apple store this weekend, and I saw them, but I wasn't interested enough to bother waiting around to play with one.
I finally got my work iPhone fixed. The screen is no
Oh,
longer
nice.
cracked.
Ooh.
And now I have this thing in basically enshrouded in
Yeah.
protective gear.
Gauzed up.
Because I was $120 after tax to
Sounds
get the
about right.
screen fixed, which I thought was
Should ride for Radio
unusually
Shack.
high. Yeah, well, Radio Shack's just going to sell my personal data, so it's okay.
Do they do that?
Did you not hear?
No.
Oh, yeah, so, because, Radio Shack's going through, its bankruptcy filing and all that.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe one of the ways they're trying to, pay down their debt or whatever is that they're planning to sell
Selling customer data.
customer data.
How is that legal?
I don't know. Maybe because people probably didn't realize they had signed things when they, signed up for a Sprint phone or whatever through Radio Shack. Back in the day when that was a thing.
Yeah.
So while I was there, I actually did do a little hands-on with the Apple Watch.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say that. I mean, it looks pretty.
Mhm.
The user interface looks pretty. Having that cluster of apps is actually kind of nice in some ways, just because I'm not a huge fan of Android Wear cards because I constantly have to scroll through them.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice just to have a visual oh, that app wants my attention kind of glance.
Okay.
But outside of a demo kind of I don't know, outside of a demonstration like that, it just doesn't feel like I actually know how it really works.
Sure. So you've been wearing this Android Wear for a couple of weeks now,
Mhm.
maybe before that too. Is there anything that it doesn't do that you really wish it did? That you think would be the difference between a make and break sale?
For Android Wear in general, or just for a smartwatch?
Just for a smartwatch.
I don't know, honestly, because I feel like it's a little bit like what Alex said, which was I feel like I have to be shown something I'm not thinking about for
Right.
me to go, yes,
Right.
that's what I was missing. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah. I mean, that's an important thing to know. That's why there are people out there with good ideas and design that make lots of money doing that, because not everybody has these ideas. That's I don't know what I want an Apple Watch to do.
I know it'll be interesting to see what happens when Pebble Time comes out,
Mhm.
because I know that I like having the notifications, the heads up, where I
Yep.
don't have to pull my phone out.
Right.
But I don't know if I necessarily like how it's organized in Android Wear. And I don't think, this is just me saying this just without having actually done extensive hands-on time yet with an Apple Watch, but I don't think there's anything in an Apple Watch that's going to still be compelling enough for me to entirely switch my ecosystem for it.
Right.
So if the Pebble Times interface with like the past, present, future kind of thing ends up working out really well, then like that could be something I end up switching to, honestly, just because I do actually like having notifications.
Yeah.
So actually, I almost just thought I felt it vibrate right now. That's the weird thing, though. I get like phantom
Ghost
vibration. Yeah,
notifications.
Oh no.
that's terrible. So sometimes I actually don't wear it on purpose because I want my body not to get used to it,
Mm-hmm.
so that it doesn't start thinking that things are vibrating when it doesn't.
Yeah.
Technology.
My favorite uses of my Pebble are the notifications, but specifically in scenarios where I don't want to use my hands to pull out my iPhone, like I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
Really good for that. And so, I'm kind of interested in developing some apps for Pebble Time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's within my capability. I'm not a super strong coder, but it seems like it's simple enough that it's something I could do. And so I've put thought into what I would want it to do. And I haven't really found any great ideas, but I like the idea of trying to solve problems that, require no hands. Like, what are problems you run into when your hands are either full or whatever?
I mean, there's a lot of times your hands will be full. You're driving, you're carrying groceries,
Sure.
you're holding a baby, so you shouldn't really drop it.
Right. So you should check your phone or your watch real quick.
Twist that baby, stop supporting its neck.
Yeah.
Parent of the year.
Yeah.
So,
And honestly, it's also still seems totally possible at this point that the whole watch thing won't take off.
I do feel like we're seeing a lot of technology right now where the tech industry is pushing, like putting a lot of weight behind things. Like there's this and VR.
Sure.
And so it'll be interesting to see like which ones take off
Right.
and
3D.
in what forms. Well, 3D never really has truly taken off.
No, it hasn't. But that's kind
It's
of an
still
example
around,
where there
though.
was a lot of push to make it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So hopefully both of them take off. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what we can really do with VR because I feel like there's a lot of applications to it that we haven't even really explored yet.
Yeah.
And then
VR is easier for me to see a future in, personally. But
I really like the stuff that you were kind of forecasting for like just wearables. Because right now it's not really useful to me to have like an expensive pedometer.
right. And mine's not very good. Mine tells me how many steps I've done. It's not very accurate.
Yeah, I think in 10 years, I mean, watches like this will be pretty dominant. When
Well,
the
10
battery life
years.
10 years. Like, I mean,
I know, it's a long time.
when the
though.
battery life gets great, when they get really affordable, when they get to the point where it's like, like you can get a pretty decent Timex right now, for like $90. I mean, eventually we're going to get there with these smart things, and maybe you pay a lot and you get the Apple Watch that does a whole bunch of stuff, or maybe you pay
Well,
something
you can get a
lower.
Pebble for $99.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, you can today.
But what's the battery life like on that thing?
7 days.
7 days. Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's it's not color.
Yeah.
It's a black and white screen. The screen's actually not that large either, I think. Yeah, it's pretty. Reminds me of my
pretty small.
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can't pronounce words today, guys. Terrible. Anyway, gonna move to the last reader question because we're getting towards the end of the show. So somebody wanted to know what price point are you waiting for, if any, to invest? I thought this word was interesting. To invest in a 4K TV.
Yeah, remember, it's not an investment because an investment eventually makes you money.
What if your 4K TV does?
Well, then you have some kind of secret that you need to tell me.
Well, I would argue that an investment is something that pays off.
Yeah.
For you, right? So say you get this 4K TV and like suddenly, you hear birds singing in the background, sunshine, rainbows, like everything you ever wanted in life is suddenly fulfilled.
There's
That
an
would be a
investment.
payoff.
Yeah.
That would be a payoff.
For me, it's not about the price so much as it is about the content. Like when everything is in 4K, like I never bought a Blu-ray player. I just eventually got a PlayStation that had a Blu-ray player in it, So when everything is 4K and you just like can't buy a TV without getting 4K, like that's probably when I'll get mine.
And then you're going to have to buy your media library over again.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Well, it's probably all going to be streaming at that point, so I'll just like, I'll already be subscribed to Netflix, and Netflix is shooting everything in 4K right now, so.
I don't know. That's the biggest irritation I have with this constant update, where it's not like you can even buy it and then like even like pay for like an upgrade to the newer version
Yeah.
at a discounted rate because you already bought the original. No, you have to buy the whole darn thing over again.
Yeah. I'm probably the wrong person to ask for this question, seeing as I did not get an HD TV until 2012.
Like HD or like full HD?
HD.
So you didn't get a 720 like TV until 2012? Oh, okay.
I don't personally use my TV that much, to be honest. I don't play a lot of games at home. I don't watch TV. I watch MMA when that's on, and so if that's in 4K, that might be interesting. But
You can see the blood and the sweat and the tears.
could, yeah. I mean, I feel like I am sooner to get a 4K monitor to edit photos on than I am get a 4K TV.
How cheap would it have to get for that?
What, the monitor?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I don't even know what the prices are right now on 4K monitors.
It varies. I mean, I saw like a refurb the other day for like 300, but I think they're still hovering, I think, like in the maybe 400 to 500 range.
Yeah,
I am
I mean,
moving to the Googles to find out.
That's I think plenty cheap for me. I guess I said that I could use a 4K monitor, but I don't know that I would want one. But I would want one before I wanted a 4K TV, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like about 500. I mean, I've seen a couple from.
That seems pretty reasonable.
It's still pretty expensive for a monitor, considering that you can get like
Sure.
a 1080 for like what, 250, 300, and
Sure.
that's like a really nice. That's a pretty nice one. So you're still paying a little bit more for it. I don't know. It's funny that you said that because I actually was going to say the exact same thing.
Oh,
So
yeah?
this week, we've been doing a lot of GTA 5 content for obvious reasons. It came out on Tuesday for PC.
Mm-hmm.
And among the things that we've done so far, video-wise, is that we did one that had it being output in 4K. So we have a 4K clip actually on our site. And I was helping with, the setup and to make the video shoot happen. And after that, I was sitting there and I was like, I like this extra real estate.
Oh yeah.
I could do this.
Oh, just the desktop real estate or
Desktop
while
real
playing
estate,
Grand
and
Theft
then
Auto?
even when I was playing the game, just to make sure everything was working, like
Mhm.
it looks nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it does look
bet.
really nice.
I bet.
But it's not just the monitor that I have to pay for it. I have to get a super nice GPU setup.
Sure.
I'd have to actually find room on my desk for another monitor.
Yeah.
Because I still have a CRT for blacks. I know.
Ooh.
I know. It's hard to give it up though. So
Eh,
I know.
just think of all the desk space you'll get back.
Until OLED monitors come out, I don't think I'm getting rid of that CRT monitor. I get made fun of so much by people who come over and see it.
I bet.
But seriously, what are you going to do?
You can. You know what? I'm not gonna judge. I didn't get an HD TV. I still had a CRT TV
Yeah,
until
wow.
3 years ago. So
Alex is just going to judge the both of us. He'll make up for that quota right there.
are you judging?
Like podcasting with my grandparents.
Yeah, pretty much.
CRT.
We are older than you, so we may as well, fulfill that to the extreme. We had Fran's old CRT TV
Yeah.
in our conversation corner until 2 or 3 months
And it
ago.
was so funny watching everyone try to haul that thing out.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Was it really hard?
Yeah. There were a
Wow.
lot of people involved in that.
How funny.
It was huge.
I missed that.
I
Yeah.
tried to avoid that problem. That was actually part of why I had the CRT for so long, is I didn't want to remove it from my
Yeah.
apartment.
Yeah.
And so when I got rid of it was when I moved out of the apartment.
Oh.
The plan was to put it on Craigslist for free and have someone take it away
Just pick
for
up.
me.
Yeah.
And
That sounds
nobody
like-
wanted it?
Oh, people wanted it.
Oh.
And someone messaged me. I said, hey, bring a friend and a dolly. And this person brought neither. So
He
I
just
had,
came alone and figured you were going to help him?
yeah, sort of. So I was actually talking to the wife who brought her husband, and she did not help. And she told me, he said he can get it. And then I looked at him. He's like, I didn't say that. I was like, oh.
So did it get out of there?
It did. And I helped
Did he
him.
break his back?
I helped him. No, I helped him.
Yeah.
Most of the way. I helped him get it to the back of his car, or even into the back of his car, but it was still hanging out of the back of his car.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, well, don't want to deal with this train wreck, so
I
bye.
washed my hands of this.
Yes, I walked away, and my parking spot was actually in a garage. It was like above, looking down on where they were, and I was
God.
getting into my car watching him still struggle with it. I'm like, not my problem.
I gave it to you for free. I
Yeah.
washed my hands of it.
I had an old gigantic CRT in my room in my parents' house, and when I was moving out, that was one of my mom's demands was you got to get rid of this big TV. And I almost had her convinced to let me throw it out the window. I'm not
Wow.
kidding. Like, Mom, I'll
What?
get this giant tarp. You know, the parts are only going to go this far, you know, according to math and science. And we'll just we'll record it smashing. It'll be really cool. And I almost had her sold. I don't know what eventually,
Wow.
I don't know. Yeah. Sanity set back in. And
She
she's like,
probably
no, go get a bunch
also-
of your dumb friends to go pick this thing up.
She probably also read something on the internet about mercury in CRTs.
Maybe. I don't think so. I think she just thought, no, go get your friends.
Too
Like,
much
you're
of a
gonna hurt
mess.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the house.
You're going to hurt my house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And on that note, we have reached our time. That's apparently by all the buzzing that's happening now. Anyway, so as always, if you guys have any questions, you guys can reach out to us at techfetish@ign.com. We also have an amazing Facebook group and a Google Plus group. People there are super awesome, super nice. And of course, you can always reach us on Twitter. I am at morphingball.
At Alex L. Roth.
Mark Ryan.
At MRSALLEE.
I'm so confused by that delivery this time. It's so
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Spelling it all.
Yeah. Well, you can just do a Google search.
I
for him.
want a good Twitter username, and I don't have it.
You're still thinking of changing it?
I don't know. I would.
Mark Ryan is taken.
It is.
I'm sure.
I want MRS,
MRS.
and it's taken by some woman named Marcia Stevens, who's tweeted twice,
You should write Marsha a nice email.
and it doesn't make sense because her two tweets have like more favorites and retweets than anything I've ever done.
That's what happens when you get a handle like that.
Well, it's not just is she married? Because then it's a play on
I don't
her
know.
initials too.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe that's the popularity. Anyway, well, you can solicit everybody's opinion on what would be a great username.
If I can get the help of the Tech Fetish crew to recapture.
Rename Mark's Twitter.
Yeah. Well, no. Let's get MRS. Let's
Oh.
petition Twitter to
Wait,
release that name.
Hold on, guys. Be nice. Don't
Yeah,
send any hate mail to
don't
this
all
lady.
tweet her.
No, she does not tweet. She is not on Twitter. She has not used Twitter for 5 years.
How do you know she actually doesn't use it though?
I don't.
You know, she could just be like looking at all
She's
the
just a
celebrity-
lurker.
She could be.
Celebrity
She
Twitter
could be.
handles.
Nothing against her. I just wish Twitter would give it up.
All right. Well, we'll cross our fingers. Maybe we can wage a very polite, nice internet campaign for you.
Thank you.
Anyway, we are out for this week. We will catch you guys next week. Until then,